Okay, so it's kind of cold and chilly here. It's raining today, which I know some folks on the Discord were saying that they hope that it would rain because, excuse me, people's allergies have been going crazy lately and all the pollen in the air and things like that. So it actually has been raining pretty good today, which is a good thing. Today has been kind of rough. Actually, 2021 has been kind of rough. We had a little chicken that, so keep this in mind. Kitty passed away not long ago, right? Well, we actually had to put him down. Our little hamster that I got because my mom died in 2019, I got a little hamster so that the kids would be distracted. That little guy was great, and he passed away like literally 3 or 4 days after Kitty was put down. Today, we had a chicken that had wry neck, which means that their neck is like all crooked. They're still able to eat and do stuff, and if you feed them certain things at the right time, it can kind of correct itself. Well, that chicken was not doing so hot today. It was laying on its side, still alive, struggling. Noelle's like put it out of its misery. So I had to go out there and do that. So it's like, man, it's just been. That's one of the things too. Like if you have backyard chickens, you got to be prepared to do something. You have to be prepared to do the unpleasant things, right? This eye is going to be red because yesterday too, taking the weed eater, minding my own business, hit a rock, boom, popped me right in the eye and gave me some dust as well. So it was redder yesterday, but it doesn't hurt. It's not really that big of a deal, but it doesn't look the greatest. But my eyes typically always are kind of dry anyway, so they're going to always be a little bit red. But yeah, that's the reason why. You guys don't really care about all these things probably, but life does happen, right? Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. So I got this Ask HershNoeie, and this is a black lady who wrote me. And she said, Herschel, this is specifically for you. Use my full name. It ain't Hirsch or nothing. Straight to business. She says, I'm writing because I want to see where your thoughts are on this particular situation. I'm a black woman who is fairly accomplished. I have my own bachelor's degree. Straight out of college, I started a small business. Sorry, Noelle sent me something. Started my own business, and after that, started working in the private sector as well, and I have a really good paying job. I have always paid my own bills. I have my own house, very well accomplished. I feel that dark-skinned women are always left out. Even though I have a lot to offer, I am typically passed over. And while black men may not want to admit it, they do not want black women who are accomplished or who look like me. So, what are your thoughts on that? I just want to hear your view because oftentimes, hold on, sorry. Oftentimes, this is not brought up, and when it is brought up, it's always pushed on to the women as if it's our fault. What are your thoughts? Here's my thoughts on this, right? And I can't speak for every black dude. And this is what I wish people would do because when we're talking about things like, for example, white supremacy, not every white person can speak about the ills or the wrongs that other all white people do. You know what I mean? They can sit there and say, it's crazy, it's bull, it's stupid, it's racist, it's hateful, it's this, that, and the other. But you shouldn't make every person who is not a bigot take the punishment of a bigot. You should go directly to the bigot and give them that punishment. You don't aim it at people who are innocent. And so and I believe that's the way it should be for everything. I don't agree that all black men or a good chunk of them don't find black women attractive. And she was saying dark-skinned black women. I disagree with that. And here is the reason why I disagree with that. I'll use my own family as an example. There are some dark-skinned black women in my family. There's many of them. My sister is dark skinned. Actually, both. So with us, my older sister was darker. The sister that comes after her, who passed away when I was a teenager, but she was an adult, she was light complexion. My next sister, which is 14 years older than me, is dark complexion, and then there's me. Okay? All of those women that I mentioned were married at some point. I know people, there's other people in my family who are dark-skinned black women who were married. And when I say were married, it's due to either their spouse passing away, or in the case of my sister, she's no longer alive. The one that, the second oldest one. Now, there were divorces and stuff throughout our family, of course. My mother's a dark-skinned black lady. Father is light complexion. That's why we have the blending that we do. But there is a big difference. And the big difference is because guys don't really care what you necessarily have on, what you've accomplished like that. Men don't really care. And I'm going to speak for me because I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I don't really care. For me, it was important that whoever I dated at least was equal in terms of what I've accomplished. I didn't want to date someone, and no offense to people who haven't graduated high school, but I didn't want to date someone who never finished high school and I was already done with college and had graduated and all of that. Because I wanted to be able to talk about our college experiences, right? I don't want to talk about high school experiences and all that. I want to talk about college experiences and laugh about, because Noelle and I still do that. We still talk about those types of things. We have something that we can talk about. I wanted someone who, we're equally balanced. But Noelle has a master's degree, and that, good for her. I mean, that's great. But I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care. It's not so much as to what all you've achieved, it's who you are as a person. And if you are a toxic person, people don't want to be with you. If you look in Hollywood, there are people who are dark complected people, women, who are some of the most beautiful women on the planet. Gabrielle Union. I saw her in the what's it called? It's some sort of what's it called? One of the first movies she was in, and basically it's like a dance competition, whatever, step something, I don't know. But I saw her in that, and I'm like, dang. Kelly Rowland, she's dark complexion. Nobody wants to talk about that, right? And because for one, they said, but those are people in Hollywood. But then people scald black men in Hollywood who end up dating whomever, right? They chastise them and say, well, you're only dating Becky. And guess what? The comments, the rude comments and the insensitive crap, it doesn't affect people. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to talk about something in particular, because if a black dude happens to date someone of another race, they call her, if it's Asian, she's Ling Ling. If she's white, she's Becky. And if she's Hispanic, I don't know, they come up with Marcel or something, right? And most of these women laugh at it and roll with it. And if they don't, why do you think that there are famous Instagram models who go by those names? There is a woman who goes by Ling Ling who's Asian. You see a lot of Asian women who go by Ling Ling. And that's kind of code by saying, you know what, I date black dudes. I'm going to use the name that you're referencing me, and I'm going to spin it all around and say, well, yeah, it's whatever. That's who I am. You have a woman who is named Becky Crocker, white chick, pretty thick, dates black dudes. So it doesn't, and I've even heard some black dudes refer to the chick they're with as their Becky. Why? Becky. Why? Because it doesn't do anything. The juvenile antics and name calling doesn't do anything. It doesn't slow down the amount of interracial dating, and it doesn't reflect the fact that these guys are dating someone of another race, that they hate you. One of the chicks I dated was a dark complected lady. Actually, two of the women that I dated were dark complexion. In fact, the only women that I've dated that were black were either dark complexion or a little bit darker than me. So it's not about the skin tone. That's a deflection. It's about you. It's about you as an individual. And if you as an individual is someone that's going to be combative or rude or whatever, and it doesn't really matter what race. I've met white chicks who are that way. And it's like, no thanks. No thanks. There are, and people don't want to admit it, but there are, where's that thing I had? Hold on. Let me find it. I have a bunch of notes, and they're just, because I took notes about this. And my notes, I can't even read them. But sorry, I end up taking a bunch of notes, and then I'm like, I can't even read my notes and I can't find them. But like, shame tactics don't work. Juvenile insults don't work. And when someone gets the hint of that, for me personally, if I get the hint that that's the way a person is, male or female, it's like, I don't want to be around that. I just don't want to be around it. Now, are there some black dudes that potentially aren't interested in black women at all? Sure. Absolutely. Are there some black men who only want to date someone they may be black, but they are the skin tone of Mariah Carey? Yes. Absolutely. And you know what? That's okay. Because those aren't the men that you should even be focusing on. Again, don't go where you're tolerated or not even tolerated or considered. Go where you're celebrated. Because there's a lot of black dudes who don't really care about skin tone. Vast majority don't. It's more about you as your constitution. My mother used to say it, your constitution. And the reason why all of those dark-skinned black women who are in my family tree didn't have a problem is because of their constitution, who they are as a person. Facts. And I don't mean to be rude, but I love my family. Some of those women are not the prettiest women in the world, and they were still able to find a good guy. So it's not about that. And they didn't sit and achieve like, I'm the president of such and such. Nobody cares. It's not about that. It's about what you bring to the table as a person on the inside. Because at the end of the day, you are, if you're wanting to marry someone, at the end of the day, I want to be with someone who we can compliment each other. And not saying, hey, you look great. I'm not talking about the top of compliment. I'm talking about where we're able to compliment each other. That there's not some sort of preoccupation or someone who is, and I'm not saying I believe in traditional male and female roles. Some black dudes do, some don't. But I don't want it to be a situation where it's kind of like, I'm supposed to be the man all the time, and she can decide when she wants to be a man and when she doesn't. You see what I'm saying? Like, nobody wants a masculine female. And there's some dudes that may. But that window is pretty narrow. And of the ones that are not, that's worth your time, not the ones who are just going to, they want a little piece and leave. Because there's a lot of those that you can basically, there's dudes out here, as long as you give them a piece, you can do whatever you want to them. As long as they know that there's a guarantee they're going to get something. They just need to hold out. There's some dudes that really intrude, the bottom of the barrel dudes, that will say everything that you want them to say. Men ain't nothing, men are this and that, and you don't got to take that, you a queen, girl. You have a lot of dudes that will sit there and talk a lot of nonsense because they think that they're going to get something. And they'll play that role. But as soon as a guy offers pushback, then it's like, nope, I'm done with that guy because he's this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. If that's the case, and it's not just black women who are like that. Some black women. There are some women who are, my ex was like that, and she was the farthest thing from black. My ex-wife. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's toxic it doesn't have a skin tone. It doesn't have a country of origin. Toxic is toxic. They're toxic dudes, they're toxic chicks. So the art, it's basically spinning your wheels. Again, look at you. It's not all, when you have to say it's all black women, it's not, or all black men, it's not. It's not. It's you. Because if you're choosing the guy that's just trying to get a taste and man ain't nothing because they do this and do that, then why are you choosing the same dudes that do that? That's the question. And I can tell you that I even chose some of the wrong women, and I knew they were the wrong women. I knew that. And I made sure that I did not have kids by them. I made sure that I did not take them around my mother because my mother's too much of an important person for me to just bring around any sort of riffraff. There were only 2 women in my entire life who met my mother. 2. And I married both of them. So I never brought someone around. They didn't get that honor to be brought to my mother or sisters unless they were worth it. Sorry. And I dated people for years and still didn't get to they didn't cut it. So it's about you. It's about you. And the problem is people don't want to turn around and look at themselves in the mirror and say, what about me is wrong? What about me is a problem? You know, you have some people who say you should accept me the way that I am. And that's not reality. That's false. You have some people who will sit here and say you shouldn't talk about weight and size and you should just accept it. I'm sorry, that's not the case. Some dudes are okay with that. Some black dudes like a thick chick. But it's funny that you're supposed to accept a black woman who's overweight and fat, but you're not supposed. You're made fun of if you date a white woman who's overweight and fat. You see what I'm saying? So it creates a hostile situation where people are saying, I'm all, and this is one of the reasons why I tell black dudes, work on you. Because you're going to have a whole lot of crap all around you from everybody. From white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, the government, everybody. Black people, black women, black men, you're going to have a lot of crap from everybody. Work on you. Work on improving you. So therefore, you can navigate all of the crap. And you're able to find the good that exists. There are good white people. There are good Hispanic people, good Asian people. There are good black folks. You just got to be able to find them. But if you don't sit there and work on you, it all is going to look the same. They're all going to blend together and be the same. And that's just not the truth. It's not how much you've achieved in college. You can go and get your PhD and all of that and still be very ill-equipped with life. That doesn't mean anything. You can be as wealthy as Oprah and still be technically single. It's not about that. It's not about I'm a boss, I'm running the city. Who gives a damn? That doesn't impress me. It's about what you bring to the table. And I'm not talking about what you've achieved on paper. It's about you, your heart, your kindness. What are the good words you can say about somebody? Not the bad, childish, immature things you can say. Anybody can do that. That's easy. You know what they used to say? When you start to cuss, it's because you don't have anything important or intelligent to say. You've ran out of intelligence, so you just use the first things that you can do to basically create a punch. Basically a verbal punch. But what are the good things that you can say? How are you able to handle negative criticism? One of the big things that employers ask, that I used to ask employees, how can you handle, are you able to handle negative criticism? Or, positive criticism. How can you handle any sort of pushback on you? Because I have had employees who just can't handle it. They've been patted on the shoulder too long, or no one's actually told them, like, you have a lot of things you need to work on. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just got a lot of things you need to work on. The kids, I already tell them there's certain things you need to work on. Doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. There's certain things you just need to work on. Right? And if no one was there to say that to someone at an early age on up, they think that they're the shit. I'm sorry, I have to cuss and say it. I normally don't, but they think that they are, and they're not. And I'm not saying that you necessarily are. I don't know you, but you have a lot of people who do. And that's one of the things I don't do. I don't sit and argue with a female. I don't argue with a male. I don't argue with anybody. Because if you think that your point is accurate, and it may not be, I had to tell a guy friend this, like, your thoughts and your beliefs and your whatever is your thoughts and your beliefs. That doesn't make them true. No matter how much you think it might be, it doesn't make it true, accurate, or anything. But those are your beliefs. Those are your thoughts. I'm not going to sit here and try to teach you some other way. That's not my role. That's not my job. I hope my camera's not on. It looks like it, doesn't it? I bet you my camera's on back there. You see it glowing? Anyway, that's not my job. And it's pointless, because you're looking for someone to basically challenge you. And if your mind's made up, your mind's made up. Just like if you think that you're all that, and, I need a man that's going to be my equal, and he's going to, good luck. But more than likely, it's not going to pay off. It just isn't. It's not going to pay off. You'll get someone, but it may not be the type of person that you're looking for, because unless you really do a great assessment of who you are as a person, and I had to do this too, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have ended up in a good relationship and have longevity and have kids and have, all that stuff. It wouldn't have happened. But unless you truly look at you and write an honest review of yourself in terms of your appearance, a lot of women will sit here and say that they are, all this, but you take the makeup off and it's like, are you still that confident? Because as a guy, I don't have no makeup. You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be mean or rude, but it's like, take an honest assessment of yourself. Humble yourself. Say, I'm an average looking person. Nothing wrong with saying that. I have, maybe I'm a little overweight. I definitely need to work on that, because my health is important, especially as Black people. It's not about being like Lizzo and saying, I'm fat or whatever. I'm curvy. You need to accept it, or I'm whatever. It's like, if that's what you want, cool. But stay over there, because that's not something that other people are necessarily going to say, yeah. You should be more or less saying, you know what? We have a lot of health issues in our community. Heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure. It's about what we eat. It's about what we drink. For some, smoking. It's about that. Be a better you. And then come to the table. A lot of people, and especially this is something else in the Black community that doesn't happen as much as it should, is getting help. Not a lot of people want to get help for being overweight. They don't want to go and get help for having negative, irrational views about race and skin tone and all of that. I'm not saying that there's not degrees of colorism and stuff like that, because there are. Absolutely. But I don't think it's as high as what people are trying to give it credence to. It just isn't. Because most guys are going to like a chick regardless. If you're a decent person, you have a great attitude, you're fun to be around, then yeah. I don't want to be around somebody that's going to be combative. You see what I'm saying? Like, people want to have fun. They don't want to be around a killjoy. Or, you have to be very careful with what you may say, because it may be like, what do you mean by that? I don't want to be around that. There are dudes that I know that are super, super delicate. I don't want to be around that. If everything you say is just so like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that. I'm not saying be rude or come off with, like bigoted nonsense. I'm not saying that. But if you just, just are talking in general, and there's some people who get really up in arms about it, then that's not the people I want to be around. I had some people talking about something the other day. I don't know, somebody from, where I went to school, and where I went to school at and where I used to live, my hometown is the Bible Belt. And they were going into this whole religious thing and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And she was trying to argue a point that doesn't need to even be argued. Because her particular point was about an opinion, her opinion. So it's like, that's cool. You have your opinion. That's great. But if you're looking for some sort of response back, it's not going to be the case. And then when other people were challenging her view, she got upset about it, and she didn't say anything there. It was a white chick. She didn't say anything there. But on her own page, I happened to look, she was talking about how people were challenging this and that. And she referenced something about the Bible, which was basically just, not speaking when people were talking about stupid stuff or what she viewed as being stupid. But it's like, don't cherry pick. Because technically, someone can point out all the things that she may have done that was definitely not very Christ-like. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's my whole point. Don't go down the rabbit hole of thinking you're better or greater or whatever than somebody else. And you may say, but I don't think that. But it's how you act. It's how you present it. It's how you come off. And it just turns people off. And that particular person was turning people off, women and men, white. I mean, these were white people who were turned off by her. So it's not about race. It's not about skin tone. For some, it is. I'm not going to sit there and say it's not. But there's a big chunk of it's just the overall attitude. Entitlement. That's another thing that's a big thing for me. People who feel entitled. Just because you're black and I'm black doesn't mean we have to be together. It's just like saying two people who are overweight should be together because they're fat. That's stupid. Nothing else matters. Doesn't matter if you guys are compatible and they're overweight. Should be together. It's just, that's stupid. You see what I'm saying? It's just stupid. Or because, this one person over here is this particular color, that person's another color. They should stay away from each other. That's dumb. Or two short people should be together because they're short. They have something in common. It's just stupid, right? It doesn't make any sort of sense. I want to know more about you as a person. I want to know where your heart's coming from. I want to know the good that you produce. I want to know, I don't want somebody who's, guilting somebody because of whatever. I don't want somebody who's sitting here shaming, name calling, and all of that. I don't want that. For example, Noelle. If Noelle got mad at someone, she would just say, I'm mad at this person, or they may have said something, or she may say that I'm mad at them. They're just a douche-tard. That's a little different, right? That's a little different. But she doesn't keep rapid fire with names and name calling and names, and it's not like that. And she can't even come up with it. They just make me mad. I can't believe they did that. I'm just annoyed. She can't even come up with any other words. She's just not mean. You know what I mean? She's just, it's hard for her to get there. She's just not the type of person who can come up with a bunch of names like Dusty and self-hating, and, it's just coon and all that. It's not there. She's not able to. And there's another person her name is Erica, black girl. I know her very well. She's dark skinned, beautiful. She never had an issue. I know her very well. Never had an issue. Now, she dated a lot of thugs, and she admit that, I like the bad boy. I know I shouldn't. And me and my guy friend were like, but why? Why do you do it? That was her thing. And she knew they weren't going to amount to anything. One day I'll change, and I'm not going to be with those type of guys. She never had a problem, and she knew what she was getting herself into. She's very quiet, never said a mean thing. I knew that chick for 8 years, never, ever, ever did I hear her say one mean, rude, nasty thing. Ever. Ever. Never. Like if she did, we would be like, what? Erica said that? No, she wouldn't say that. Like nobody would believe it. So it's and she only went to, what was it, high school? Graduated high school? See what I'm saying? So it's not about, well, you went to college or you didn't. For some, like I said, for me, that's a prereq, right? That's a prereq. Like, and I think for women, if you want your guy, if the guy has to be able to at least, went to college, okay, cool. But when we start to get into these situations where he needs to be, we're at my level, a lot of dudes ain't trying to be in school that long. They are there, but the number of people who are at that level are very small in general, male or female. It's a small number. And most of those people are white. And so when you look at that, and let's cut out white women, and you look at white dudes, what are the number? Again, it's all about proportions. There are some black dudes, obviously, that are there. I mean, there's all races and all different levels of education, okay? But let's just focus on just a small piece. If you look at the number of white dudes who have a PhD and on your level, okay? And let's just say you say, I'm going to broaden my horizons and I'm going to date a white dude. How many of them are going to be open to date you? And then if you take that proportion that's there, then let's go through and see if they, go through and do a good assessment of yourself. Right? Do a good assessment of yourself. And are you trying to go for the Brad Pitt with the PhD, or are you trying to go with the, what's his name? Billy Bob Thornton with a PhD? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying everything's got to be proportional. You can't say you're a 9 whenever you're like a 4 or a 5. Be honest. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're not, and you're trying to get the top dude that's looking like a Brad Pitt, and he's all cut and in shape, and he's making a lot of money, and you haven't started making anything yet, but he's making some decent money, and you're like, that's the guy I want. What's to stop him from going for a Joanna Krupa? I'm sorry. And if you don't know who Joanna Krupa is, I talked about her in a previous video, but Google her. What's to stop him from going with that? And that's not to say, oh, she's better than me, or you think that she's better. No, I'm just saying that he may end up saying, you know what, I'd rather go for her. Now, Joanna Krupa probably didn't even go to college at all. Joanna Krupa, bad. Sorry, just facts. So Joanna Krupa is very, very, very feminine. Very feminine. Most dudes cannot get Joanna Krupa, period. I couldn't. Most dudes can't. Now, they may get a chick that's really, really pretty or equal pretty, but there's some women who are unattainable, and guys understand that. You know why? Because guys go up and ask women for dates all the time and get rejected all the time. We're used to rejection. Women are not used to rejection, and when women get rejected, it's like something must be wrong with the guy, and it's not the case. It's not at all the case. So I don't necessarily agree 100% with what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and maybe your experiences can shed a lot of light on a lot of things. But I think overall, it's about who you are as a person, what you present to people, and not this so much, the world is against me, and more or less saying, you know what, that individual person was against me. But whatever, that's their issue. And really and truly be around the people who you want to be around. Be around people who can compliment you, and not just another pack of women who are going to sit there and pat you on the back, because that's just going to be the singles club. Be with the people who, if you want to be around guys that are successful black men who are doing good things and doing great things, then be in that area, but also don't necessarily, as soon as you disagree with them, start trash talking. Or if they disagree with you, start trash talking. Just say, that must be your view. And I know a lot of black women who are that way. Like, I guess that's your view. I completely disagree. And maybe that's your experiences. I know a lot of black women who are like that, who have no problem with dates. And not anybody can get a date. If you're a woman, you can be any type of woman to get a date. But I'm talking about really something that's actually substantive. You see what I'm saying? Like something that's really about something. And there's plenty that don't have a problem with that, right? And with guys who have no intention of trying to get some the first night, right? Because you can have a good looking dude. I knew some. I actually ran with some good looking dudes. We were dirt bags, right? Had black one, white guy, a couple of white guys. You send the good looking guy into the bar. So we would all roll in packs, but you send the good looking dudes in, boom, all women's heads turn, they look. White dude, he's tall, nicely dressed and everything. He sits down, very cocky, but not like too cocky. And that brings everybody kind of all their eyes are over, right? You then bring in the other good looking white dude and they're like, dang, because all the white chicks are looking and Asian chicks too. I'm speaking facts, right? Good looking black dude comes in, then like everybody's like, what? I think like the bartenders are, especially if it's a female bartender, they're extra nice to you, right? You find 3 good looking dudes and you take one good looking chick, and a lot of times the bartender's like, forget the chick, the dude, because those 3 dudes are going to be bringing probably a lot of chicks over to, a lot of chicks. We would do that all the time. Then you would have, the second tier, which would be myself and this other guy. We all right. We come in there too, swagger. Just talking, we sitting there laughing, being just, not paying. You ignore the women that's in there just because women don't like to be ignored. Just ignore them. They may ask you a question like, where are you guys from? Oh, we're just from around the way. And we just continue talking our thing. Because we used to do stuff like that, right? We used to do that. And so, any guy can sweet talk and talk their way and all of that. That's not the type of guy that you necessarily want. And obviously, I definitely have changed. I know 2 of those dudes have changed. They're married now, and they don't have the body that they did. They have dad bods or a father figure body. You know what I mean? Like, things change. But if that's what you're wanting, if you're wanting to have that type of relationship, I would start looking at yourself and then go from there. Anyhow, I can go on and on and on. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.